small bird. Hey. These people do not understand. I'm moving as fast as I can. Sending my prayers to God. He doing whatever he can.
Beautiful black people. What's up, man? It's your boy Smit. You probably saw me on another glitch. You know what I'm saying? I was testing some things out. You know what I'm saying? Just trying to evolve, trying to be practical, trying to be pragmatic at the same time, just trying to do it right. So I was testing some experimenting, if you will, with some technology, and it didn't go away. It didn't go well for your boy. So just had to restart. That's why I'm 8 minutes late. Had to get it right. You know what I'm saying? Had to get it right. Had to test it out. Didn't work the way I thought it was. So we're just going to do it this way for right now. You know what I'm saying? Welcome to my show. It's Smit the Speaker. It's Mannish Monday. How you feeling? Don't get it twisted. That Mannish Monday is not a gender specific. That just means grinding, just doing it right. You know what I'm saying? Just doing it right. Manage Monday, man. You know what I'm saying? If you want to twist it and make it more gender neutral or gender specific, by all means, feel free. I'm not that cat to be like, don't do that. Nah, hey, man, we are humans. At the end of the day, we humans. Whatever works for you on Manage Monday, man, make it grind out. You know what I'm saying? Make it do what it do. Hit the subscribe, hit the like. Thank you so far for my followers. Thank you for the folks that watched this video. Thank you for the people who sharing it. Thank you for the feedback. Man, I really, really do appreciate it. Listen, I don't do this for a living. I'm not one of these big guys with 1 million followers. I understand that. Again, that's not my goal. My goal is to be some sort of avenue, vessel, if you will, pipeline for someone to get something. You know, whether that's a spark, whether that's an aha, whether that's, damn, I just needed that little bit. You know what I'm saying? That's what this is about. That's why I do this. Smit the Speaker, man. You know, for the people, man. If we have more, I had seen something. I was standing in the post office doing some stuff for my daughter, and I seen this wonderful, wonderful card. I'm not a big card person, but I seen the card, and on the cover was a black woman. And it said, if this world had more of you in spaces where you ain't, imagine how wonderful more this world would be. Man, yeah, that's how powerful that was. It got me. Hey, today, August 18th, 2025, James Meredith became the first African-American to receive a BA from Ole Miss, 1962. Whoa, yes, sir. Shout out James Meredith, BA, Ole Miss. You know what I'm saying? They're still on. You hear me tapping. Some of those things. So we had a young lady become the first female to umpire a major league game. We're talking 2025 here. Again, it's no, we shouldn't have to do that, but at the same time, we must do that to bring light of the hypocrisy of the alleged progressiveness of our society. We're so progressive that we're still having the first, right? So let that one sink in. It's the dichotomy of being a human in this time frame that we're in, where we're supposed to be so progressive, where, you know, AI is rampant, and the fake is not fake and the real is not real. But still, we still have to acknowledge the first, because that's where we are. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to that young lady who did that. I hope, and I can only wait to see more young ladies in spaces that have been historically secluded for men, and specifically white males. I have nothing against them, just being that's the authentic part of the reality, unfortunately, of the nationalistic, capitalistic society that we live in. And let me say this as well. You know, we tend to call, I have to check myself a lot, is that we just think, because, you know, we're recent bias. Like, I'm here now, so I have this bias on whatever the case is. We have that. And sometimes that gets in, we start just having tunnel vision. But when I talk about the white male property owners who have long um power tripped over their position. Let's be understanding that there's a lot of cultures where the male is the dominant figure and the female is secondary, if that. Let's just be honest about that. Is it right? That's not for me. That I'm just saying some cultures still practice that. And you know you just don't go into that culture dictating how they're going to do their culture, because they've survived for centuries that way and they continue to do that. So again, I just want to be mindful of that. Like, I hope to see more women in a lot of places that men have historically strong held, gate kept, if you will, because I think that's I believe, like I said on my last show, like the greatest thing for a young man is the wisdom of an old woman. You know what I'm saying? To learn a lot, right? With that said, man, what's up, people, man? I hope y'all well. I know you're well. Breathe in, deep breath. We're in the dog days of August. It's hot. It is crazily not insanely hot here in California, which is odd. It's odd, but I'm going to take it because these 80-degree days are awesome. I'm fearful because I know that just means we're gonna have like one hell of a hot September and October, like 100-degree every day. I can already see it. You know what I'm saying? Climate control is a real thing. The seasons are changing. They're not what they used to be. They're starting at different times. Things. It's the evolution of the planet. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's not climate change or something, but it's the evolution of the planet. See, again, words matter, man. Words matter. You don't want, again. So here we go. So also today, my dude, my inner warrior spirit child. That's my guy. He's 5 today. That's my guy. Man, I went and seen him at his school. Had his saying it was awesome. Gave me a hug. I gave him a hug. We had to chop it up for a quick minute. Then he had to go back off and learn some things in the classroom. Who am I to, get away of young mind evolution, right? He had to go learn. So shout out, grandson, man. People, I love you. Youngest grandson to be in town in a couple of days, so I get to hug him mindfully. You know what I'm saying? Let's get on to some topics du jour. I think I got about 20 minutes left. Yeah, about 20 minutes. Last week I spent a lot of time on politics, but today I really want to dig into some Mannish Monday stuff, like from the soul. Just trying to be mindful of some of the conversations I've entered into lately with a lot of phenomenal young men, and maybe not just young men either. Maybe some my age or close to it, maybe even above. Mind me, I got to get to a conversation as well that I had that I thought was pretty powerful in itself. But with that, and I've said this before in other locations and other spaces, about relationships, men in general, right? Black men specifically. And what I've come to find out, again, about the cultural thing is a lot of the cultures are similar to a certain extent. But, so here's some of the struggles about relationships. I think, my personal opinion from my lived experiences, is sometimes if you don't have the proper introduction to maybe expectations of a man within the society framework, then of course they become whatever you grow them to be in your environment, especially young people, with minds that are forming on the go, right? Again, like, young people come into this world without a playbook, without rules, without anything. So we're molding them as we go. And just like there's no, now there are books about marriage. Yes. There are books about relationships. Yes. Is it concrete? No. Those are all, helpful pieces of advice from lived experience. Every single relationship is different. Therefore, every single childhood is different. Now, they may similar to one another. Me and my sister lived in the same house, blah, blah, blah. Me and my friends lived in the same neighborhood. Some of us went to the same school, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, some of those things are similar, but then the individual, and so I think, when we start talking about relationships and the struggles, you know, um, so before I get like, I understand like the younger generation. When I say younger, I'm talking like 20s, 30 years old right now. I looked up some data, and it seems to coincide that people just aren't getting married no more for whatever reason. I'm sure there's a plethora of reasons. I'm not going to sit here and say, "Oh, you guys should get married." Yeah, that's not what I do. I'm just saying, it just shows that the trend currently is like young folks aren't getting married. Totally fine. Whatever floats your boat, as far as I'm concerned. Um, However, there still comes the point where there's a relationship, however severe, however in debt, however intimate. Young men and women, men and women enter into relationships frequently, often, time and time again. Right, whether you're there for a longer period of time, whether you're in and out one night or whatever, there's still some form of relationship. Now, judging on the length and the severity of the relationship, there might come a time when some things need to be discussed. Otherwise, you get assumptions or expectations that are unmet. And I say all that to say, if we expect young people to have successful healthy relationships. Now there's that word healthy. What is healthy could be your normal, and what could be your normal could be a parent leaving. It could be a parent addicted to whatever. It could be a parent that's in and out. Your healthy is your normal. Your normal is what you experience. You know what I'm saying? So I say healthy relationship relative to the individual. If we want them to do that, then we have to introduce those expectations. We have to set those boundaries. We have to set, if you're in a relationship where it's both parents and you have a child, then I encourage the two of the parents to conversate about, when are we going to start introducing certain topics to our child? When do we engage them? And how do we set a stage that allows them to perform in a relationship good? Because the first relationship, of course, is the parents. Second relationship is probably going to be siblings. Then we're talking about extended family, and we talk about maybe friends, and then we're talking about school with teachers and so forth, right? And then what do those relationships look like? What are they built on? How do we expect our children to go into those relationships? How do we expect our children to expect results from those relationships? I had said this last week on a social media post. I think not one, I'm not saying but some of the downfalls that I think hindered a lot of children or child innocence in building strong relationships, healthy relationships, is those notions, those thought process, those beliefs that children are to be seen and not heard. You do as I say. Oh, so and so is just old and stubborn. He's just that way. She's just that way. That's a breeding ground for unsafe practices with children, and adults. Because then if something, that we may perceive as inappropriate happens, and then that child has the thought of, okay, I don't question this, and they told me to shut up and not talk. You see what I'm saying? So I think parents should really enter into those conversations, and like, how are we raising our child to interact in relationships, and how do we build healthy? What do they look like? Let's define that. Let's define healthy, right? Because when I come into a relationship with my healthy, and then I enter with another person with their healthy, are those healthy still? Are they on the same definition of healthy? You know what I'm saying? What does your normal look like compared to what the other person's normal look like? And then how do we address them? How do we kind of make them vibe together? Is it worth it? Is it healthy? You know what I'm saying? So I think it's very, very complicated and nuanced. But again, I think if we provide our young people with those skills to have conversations, in-depth conversations, when they come into their romantic relationships, because that's where I was going with this relationship, this Mannish Monday, is how as a man in your intimate relationships, I think there's a lot of propaganda and sensationalism, not just social media. That's nothing new, but just throughout the course of our society of the promiscuous uh, um, inaccuracies or imbalances between men and women. Whereas if you're a young man or old man, whatever, if you're a male and you are promiscuous, then you're kind of looked at as the alpha male, or whatever pedestal you want to put them on. But then you juxtapose that with a female, and now she becomes the Jezebel of the city, right? Now, again, I understand times are changing and whatever the case is. I'm just talking about in a general society, in a general sense of things. That's how it's kind of looked upon. However, is that what we want to do? And then how do we exercise that in a way where we can say, okay, young bruh, son, grandson, nephew, what expectations do you have in a relationship with a woman, right? You can go around to a fifth grader right now. They're going to tell you, you know what I'm saying? Again, that's no different from when I was in fifth grade. Let me be clear on that. I don't want to be that old guy and say, oh, social media is tearing our children down. Listen to me. In my second grade, third grade, fourth grade, there were kids kissing. I mean, I'll just be 1,000, man. I went to Stonehurst Elementary School, East Oakland. Second grade, third grade, I seen kids kissing. All right. Now I'm thinking, well, those must be the cool kids, right? So don't just get it like, oh, all of a sudden these kids are they're vaping, listening to rap music, and they're on Snapchat, and this just all going to hell. Come on, man. I wasn't born in the 50s or the 40s, but I'm sure there was some promiscuity, if that's a word, going on in fourth and fifth grades. Okay. Yeah, that's nothing new. So I would say is then how do you enter into those healthy conversations with these young fifth and sixth graders, ninth graders, 11th graders, 12th graders, about relationships with the opposite sex? Because that's where I'm going with this. What do they look like? How are they healthy? I had a conversation with a young man, and I thought what he said about his role in a relationship was absolutely beyond his years and almost had me checking myself. And in his relationship, his words were, I didn't know how to leave. I didn't know how to leave the relationship. That's deep. That's deep. I don't know how to leave a relationship. Man, come on, listen to me, folks. We got, as adults, myself included, parents, grandparents, aunties, uncles, grandparents, mentors, coaches, leaders, whatever. It's not just one-sided conversation spectrum to relationships. It's also the closing and the ending. How do we do that? How do we navigate that very odd, traumatic, possibly weird, emotional closure to something? This is a grown man who I had this. He wasn't young. He's young. He's younger than me, but he's a grown man on his own. Child, career, very well in tune with life. And he told me, like, I didn't know how to leave the relationship, and so thus, probably his actions weren't probably the best suited for that particular situation. Right now, that's just him. I felt the same way. This is the crazy thing that goes on in our mind when we start to have to navigate something new that we don't know existed or haven't been introduced to properly. I remember, full transparency, I'm on my second marriage. I didn't even know how to leave my first marriage. The crazy thing is, as a man, me and this gentleman went down this road. Two crazy things. One, we believe in our mind that if I leave her, it's going to crush her spirits. So that's not a gentlemanly thing to do, right? And if I do leave, is that saying like I'm better than you? Crazy what goes on in our mind when we don't know how to articulate or enter into a space we are not comfortable with, we are not prepared for. We are I believe, and this is not gender, I believe men and women are very well prepared to go into the relationship. That's how come we have abortion protests right now. That's how come we have, a growing population. This is why we have 8 billion people in the world, because men and women instinctively inherent of being a human have no problems, are well prepared to go into relationships, intimate relationships. We are ill prepared as a society to leave those. That's why the divorce rates are what they are. Right? Again, going into that, I read something. What book was that? Oh, crap. I'm sorry. I'll have to get the name for you. What is Nurture Shock? Nurture Shock talked about how as parents, both parents are in a home, married or not, doesn't matter, but they're in the house, the child's there. There's an unagreeable conversation, which some people will call an argument. And what do we do as parents? Because we want to protect our children's innocence, we send them to the room or send them out of the space where this unhealthy conversation is unfolding right in front of them. And then the next thing they know, they either see, okay, my parents are no longer talking, and there's that end, there's that closure, or they're happy again and life is great. The book goes, and again, this, however you want to handle it, I'm not saying, but it just opens up a conversation or an area. Those children never got to see how to resolve conflict, good, bad, or indifference. Right now, again, as parents, hopefully we entered into this space with introducing to our children, how do we resolve conflicts? What is a conflict? What does the resolution look like? What are resolutions? How do we get to these resolutions? Right? But if you're like me as a kid and you've never seen conflict resolution, and all you've seen was going into the relationship, we don't know, we haven't gotten to the weeds of how to be in a relationship, let alone how to end a relationship. Those go in, those two parts right there are probably the most paramount parts of an intimate relationship with your spouse, love interest, girlfriend, wife, whatever. We don't know 2/3 of the relationship. We know how to get in it. Oh, that person's attractive. That's it. Now we're moving on to the next phase of that. There's no practice on how do you maintain and sustain a healthy, long, vibrant, evolving, healthy relationship. And then if both parties come to a path where they cannot coincide together, we are not prepared how to part ways in a very humanistic way, where we don't have to get to petty levels of accusations, name calling, insults, dragging each other through the mud. You know what I'm saying? Putting you on blast. You know what I'm saying? Clowning you. What a world we live in when we can say we're progressive, but we still aren't taught how to maintain a healthy relationship with our partner who we thought was going to be our ride or die, which I don't like that phrase. Anyway, and that when he said that, I didn't know how to leave. I said, that's Mannish Monday shit right there. That's Mannish Monday. We are so well prepared, overly sometimes, so quick to jump into a relationship. And I'll say this about Mannish Monday and about healthy relationships between, I don't want to say between men and women. I'm saying intimate relationships with your loved one, your spouse, your interests, your boo. I hate that phrase too. Anyway, entering, like I said, we already as humans have the energy, the spirit, the yearning fire, if you will, to enter into a relationship. Those generally go something like this. Hey, you're fine. Dinner, drinks, maybe you don't drink, I don't know, coffee. Let's go watch a movie. Again, now I'm old. I'm talking about what stuff happened in the 70s, 80s. I don't know what they do now. They whatever they do, but there's still that, there's that level, right, of introduction or attraction, introduction, and then more than likely intercourse comes. That's it. That's what we know. Now, I had been saying this for the longest time to the young people in my family, not to the young people I mentor and coach right now, but eventually it'll come into that. However, I've been saying this to my young cousins and nieces and nephews, right? The attraction, okay, that's first, right? Then a conversation. In that conversation, it should not be, oh, you're fine. Where do you work? Which is a good thing to know if they do work. But what should also happen in that conversation prior to the intimate part? You got any rapists in your family? You got any murderers in your family? Does your mom or dad suffer from bipolar? Does your mom or dad hypochondriacs, kleptomaniacs? Did your great grandfather, was he with the Klan? What was your great grandfather, a Republican? Do you mind if I leave my dirty panties in the sink overnight to soak? Because that's normal. I got to do that in order for the stain to go away, for them to be clean again so I can wear them again. Do you mind if I leave the closet door open just a bit? Because I don't like it closed all the way because I'm claustrophobic. Do you mind if I leave the light on at night when we go to sleep? Because, as a little child, my siblings scared me to death. That way I can't sleep in the dark. These are the questions we should be asking going into the relationship, hopefully building a precipice of the relationship when you get into sustaining the relationship, because now I'm not tripping on, oh crap, you don't even wash your plate off after you eat. You just put it on the counter. No one puts it in the trash. You don't soak it. You know how much elbow grease I got to use 3 days from now to do dishes? Oh, wait, your car's dirty. I don't like that. You knew that person's car was dirty on day one when you went on a date. You never brought it up because they was fine. You know what I'm saying? Again, I think if we want to build healthy relationships and learn how to sustain and build upon and let the relationship evolve, and then if unfortunately paths do, go their own way, we can enter into that space healthy, confident, respectfully, understanding, oh, okay, there was something else there. Because I knew your family, or I knew you knew my family was crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, we fight at every party. Or, my uncle gets drunk and, starts throwing, bottles on the ceiling. Or my grandfather likes to take his gun out and start shooting when he's drunk. It was something else in the relationship, but we don't know these things because we never talked about them. We never discussed them, right? Discuss them, right? So when I Mannish Monday, man, I really encourage building healthy relationships, and I think that it comes through communication, and it's very multi-level, like, because if you're a parent right now and you were never taught that, how to build a healthy relationship, what's your relationship look like? It's normal to you. Is it healthy? Is it the kind of relationship you want your children to be in? I'm just asking that as a question, for us to really examine, what are we putting out front of our children. And I will also say this: I think young people can grow fruitfully and healthy in a relationship if there's just one parent involved. I really wish it was some co-parenting going on, but again, maybe we truncate that and change those numbers around so where it's not co-parenting from different households, it's co-parenting in the same households, because we learn how to sustain relationships, and we won't have to worry about a divorce rate going down, and maybe even marriage doesn't even come into play, and we're just living together as mom and dad, and that's what we choose to, and that's healthy, and that's fine. We don't have to put a ring on here to say that I'm mom and dad or that I'm committed to your mom. I think there's a lot of religious nonsense that goes into that, because we've been conditioned to believe that only through one particular spirit or entity and some materialistic piece, is shared between us, that constitutes our dedication and commitment to one another. I don't think that's accurate. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I don't think that's accurate. I think parents can cohabitate in the same house. And that's just me. I'm not saying this works for everyone. And not be married. And I'm not saying I'm saying that to say, oh, they live in the same house, but they're going out doing their own thing. I'm not saying that. I'm saying they're still in a relationship. They're still committed to one another. There's just not that weight, that burdensome of marriage on it. And I'm married. I'm not saying this. I don't misconstrue my words. I'm just saying, for those folks that choose to live that way, who am I to judge them and say, oh man, y'all need to get married? That's not my position. To each his own is what I'm saying. I'm just saying, when we start building healthy relationships, we should offer our children those best pieces of advice, not telling them what to do, offering them advice how to enter into a relationship, how to build a healthy relationship, how to sustain a healthy relationship, and then how to walk away from a healthy relationship in their own way, in their own fashion, create their own normal. You know what I'm saying? Because, like I said, I think that is a lot to do with some of the things I see when I go into schools. I go into these institutions, and I see especially these young men struggling. I'll tell you a story, then I'm done. And I'm not going to get to this conversation I had with this gentleman, but I will next week, hopefully. I went, and this was maybe 3 years ago. I was talking with some wonderful, wonderful fifth or sixth graders, and just talking about, understanding your normal and accepting your normal. And, we all come from different places. And it's what makes us great. And I may not have as much as you financially, but I'm just as rich as you emotionally. I have everything you have. Right. And I must have been talking, man, for about 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Again, I want to say I was asking them to provide me some feedback. So I'm asking questions as I'm talking. And out the corner of my eye, I hear a little sniffle, and I look, and the young lady got her head down, and I said, it's okay. I didn't put her on blast. I just said, it's okay. So I didn't ask her why. That's not my business. Okay, it's okay. I tell you what, I'm throwing you some positive energy right now. So, I smile at her, right? It's after it was all done and said, I'm on my way out. The teacher says, hey, Smit, this young lady wants to talk to you. I'm like, okay, bet. Yeah, what is? What is it? And I feel comfortable sharing this story because you don't know who she is, but her father was incarcerated. She was born So I'm assuming she was around 2. She didn't give me a real age. And he was incarcerated. And then, unfortunately, he passed inside the institution before he could get out and see her. And that's why she started crying, because she says, every time I see the picture of my father, I cry because that's my normal. And I was like, whoa. Now I'm there to, give some enlightenment, some encouragement. And I had to think for a second. I had to pause. And I had to be mindful of this young lady and her age, what she was going through. It was her normal. And so the best thing I could tell her was, young lady, I don't know your father, but I could tell that you love him. I said, I'll tell you this. I'll give you this piece of advice, and I'll tell you this well, if you're listening. If you love someone and they're no longer there, don't cry every time you see their picture, because then that becomes your normal. Yes, it's painful. I understand that. But don't make that the relationship, you crying every time you see the picture. Now, it's going to take some time to recondition your mind. That's what I'm telling her. It's going to take some time to recondition and retrain your mind to smile and laugh when you see your father's picture. But if you do it and you stay consistent with it, that will become the normal when you see your father's picture. Powerful, man. Powerful. Young folks got a lot going on, man. Now, I don't want to toot myself on the back or toot my own horn or pat myself on the back, but imagine if me and this young lady never crossed paths and she takes that into her relationship, with her intimate relationships with whoever she decides to. Think about that trauma and that baggage she got the burden that she has to reconcile with. So I hope the words I gave her that day resonate, and she can somehow get to the point where when she does enter into relationships, she sees them for what they are, and she establishes boundaries and expectations to it. And they're not negative based on what she's been through with her father. I know she will. She's a strong, I've seen her a couple more times later in the school year. She's got some energy to her. You know what I'm saying? I just hope she continues with that energy. And if she needs some help, I hope she's getting that help. I'm not a professional therapist. That's not what I do. I just call stuff how I see it, But I say to you, man, our relationships sometimes come with the baggage that we never unpacked. Mannish Monday sometimes gets deep. Let's unpack some stuff, reconcile it, move it away. Let's encourage our young people. Let's introduce them to healthy habits in a relationship, normal habits in a relationship, questionable things we should be talking about in a relationship, not just say, can I smash that? Right. And then hopefully we can build a society that is actually progressive and not just performative progressive. Oh, there it is. Where I'm at. 39 minutes, man. 39 minutes. I'm good. I didn't even go 45 this time. Man, I hope each and every one of you are living well. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I haven't said it in a long time, man, but I love you with everything I got. I hope you feel it coming through this microphone, through this camera. I love you. This is why I do this. I hope it hits your heart somehow, some way, to share, to like, to comment, to request someone to come on if you want to come on. You know what I'm saying? Even if your story you think is normal and mundane, somebody needs to hear it. You know what I'm saying? And I openly extend an invite to anybody that wants to come on and just say what's on their heart, because it could change someone's world. You know what I'm saying? That's the show today, ladies and gentlemen. Grandson, I love you. Grandson number 2, you on your way. I love you too. You know what I'm saying? Man, they just make me smile. You see, I can't even stop smiling when I talk about the grandsons. You know what I'm saying? It's awesome. Love being a grandfather, man. I'm telling you, love it, love it, love it. Beautiful Black people, I love you, man. Like as always, enter into a conversation with someone that doesn't look like you, doesn't sound like you. And if you listen, shut up. you just might learn something. Beautiful Black people, till next time, I love you.
Shout out Bird. Hey. These people do not understand. I'm moving as fast as I can. Sending my prayers to God. He doing whatever he can.